is how is my credit score calculated? And a lot of people, when you ask a lot of people this question, um, just to check their level of knowledge, you'll get all kinds of answers. Okay. Um, but have y'all ever tried to play baseball with a, football bat? Right. So there's no such thing as a football bat, right? But my point though is that if you don't know the rules to the game, then you can't win. Okay. So tonight we're going to talk about, just take a minute and talk about, what goes into a credit score. Okay. So first, the piece that has the highest impact on your credit score is your payment history. That accounts for 35% of your credit score. So what does that mean? That means you got to pay your bills, and you got to pay your bills on time. Okay. Now I'm not talking about your light bill or your water bill or anything like that. I'm talking about the bills that affect your credit score: credit cards, mortgages, car loans, store cards, anything that reports to the credit bureaus. You need to pay that on time because that accounts for 35% of your credit score. The next thing is your balances versus amount owed. Okay, that accounts for 30%. So how do you control that? You play a big part in that. First, I want you to understand that when you're dealing with credit cards, you really want to be below 30% of your credit limit. So if you got $1,000 credit card and that's your credit limit, you really don't want to use any more than $300 on that credit card. And to be quite honest, to get the best results, you really don't want to use more than $100. Okay, and I would actually say 90. Right? If you can, you want to stay below 90. Below 10%, but you definitely want to be below 30%. Okay, and that's not that hard. Now, the other part of that though is when you buy a house. Right? When you buy a house, that is a huge debt. Same thing when you buy a car. It's a huge debt, right? So as you're making payments on that mortgage or that car note, the bigger the gap becomes between from where you started to where you are now, the better that is for your credit score. Okay, so you'll hear a lot of people say, well, you never want to pay off your house. Well, that's not really true. However, when you do pay off that house, your credit score is going to take a hit for a few reasons, and we'll talk about one of those reasons here in a second. But as long as you're paying on that house, your credit score will go up. So it's important that you pay those things that affect your credit on time. Okay, one late payment of 30 days can hurt your score anywhere between 50 and 100 points. So you definitely want to stay on top of that. The next biggest thing that affects your credit score is your length of credit history. Okay, so remember I talked about, just a second ago, I talked about what happens, that your credit score is going to go down when you pay off your house. Well, it's going to go down when you pay off your car as well. And the reason for that is because when you pay those loans off, all of that history associated with those accounts goes away as well. So how do you control that? Well, the best thing to do is to open a credit card. Okay, open a credit card and never close it, which means that you actually have to use the credit card, because if you don't, the banks will close it for you. But you open up a credit card and you can have that credit card from now until the next 50, 60, 70 years, if God grants you the blessing of living that long. But as long as you have that positive trade line being reported to your credit bureaus, when you pay off that house or when you pay off that car, your credit won't be affected as much. So when I was growing up, all my parents told me was, hey, make sure you pay your bills on time, right? But I didn't really know what that meant. Right, when I was a much younger adult and I was less responsible with money, my thing is every time taxes come around, I can't wait to get my tax return so I can pay this credit card off, and I'm gonna close that account. That is the worst thing you can do. Okay, pay it off. You definitely want to pay it off, right? That'll help your credit. But when you close that credit card, your credit score is going to take a hit. So keep those positive trade lines open. The next thing is inquiries, right? So when you go out and you apply for different types of things, every time you apply for some type of loan, And let's not get it twisted. A credit card is a loan. Anytime you apply for something that's going to do a hard inquiry on your credit, it's going to cost you on your credit score anywhere between 10 and 15 points. And if you have more than 4 inquiries on your credit report in 18 months, you're going to look desperate to the lenders. Okay, so you definitely want to keep your inquiries down to less than 4 in 18 months. Right? So basically, if you know that your credit isn't good, don't apply for it, because now they're going to tell you no, but they're also going to hurt you even more, preventing you from getting something from somewhere else, right? So do your research first. You can find minimum credit scores required for certain things before you apply for them. So do a little bit of research before you apply for something, okay? And finally, well, first off, that those inquiries account for 10% of your score, right? So that could be up to 85 points or more, okay? Then you want to have a good mixture of revolving and installment credit. That accounts for 10% as well. So what's the difference between revolving and installment credit? Okay, well, revolving credit is something like a credit card where you control the payment based on the balance. Okay, so if your credit card could be, minimum payment this month can be $35, and next month it's $15, right? It's not a fixed payment. You have a payment, but it's not fixed as long as you have a balance on the credit card. But the installment credit is something like a personal loan, a car loan, a mortgage, or something like that. So you want to have a good mixture. So again, when you pay that credit card off, not only are you losing all of the history associated with it, but you're also lowering your ratio between the revolving and installment credit. Now, if you have bad credit already, I know what you're thinking. Well, there's no way that I can get revolving or installment credit because nobody will approve me for a credit card. Nobody will approve me for a loan. Well, I can actually help you with both of those. Okay, I can't help you with the loan, but I can help you get a positive trade line in the form of you getting credit for you paying your rent on time, right? That will show up on your credit reports as an installment debt, right? As long as you're paying your rent every month on time, you can definitely take advantage of that. And you know what? We can go back as far as 2 years, which also helps the history that we were talking about. Okay, and then as far as the revolving credit, I have access to a secured credit card. Now, this secured credit card is 100% approval as long as you have not filed bankruptcy in the last 30 days. Okay, as long as you haven't done that, we can get you a secured credit card, and I can show you how to use that credit card responsibly, and give you some free game on how to get that credit card to help you the most. Okay, if you guys have any question about what goes into your credit score or what have you, feel free to inbox me. I'll be more than happy to help you. Now let's talk about a few myths. Okay, one myth is my debt to income ratio is too high. That's why I have bad credit. Well, that's not necessarily true. Okay, lenders look at your debt to income ratio when you go to buy a car, buy a house, and things like that. But your debt versus the amount of money you make has absolutely nothing to do with that 3-digit number. Okay, nothing at all. Now there are people out there that says, well, if I want to raise my credit score real fast, all I got to do is go apply for a new credit card. Well, now let's think about that. Okay, will that work if your credit's good? Sure, if your credit is already good, right? But understand that the inquiry that you have on that credit card is going to cost you on your credit score. But now if your credit card is good enough, if your credit score is good enough, you'll get approved for that credit card. That will help you, okay? But what I would do is if my credit was good enough, instead of applying for a new credit card, I would just ask my bank for a credit limit increase. Most times that comes without a hard inquiry on your credit report. What that does for you is it gets you it opens that gap up. Remember I talked about balances versus amount owed, right? So it helps you get that 30%, get to that 30% faster, or maybe even that 10% faster. Okay. Guys and girls, the best advice that I can give you is before you make a financial decision involving credit, talk to an expert. Don't talk to the streets, right? The streets are full of gossip and people who believe that it works this way. Okay, talk to somebody who actually knows, and let us help you let's help you get into the right direction. Okay. Now, if you have negative items on your credit report, reach out to us, right? Inbox me, hey, I need help, right? Let's go ahead and stay away from those cash cards, right? Those cash cards stay away with, they come with problems. Now, you do what you got to do, right? If you don't have a vehicle, if you got to get back and forth to work, and the public transportation system in where you live is not the best, then you do what you got to do. There's nothing against, no judgment against people who have to do what they have to do. But if you have the time and you can invest in yourself, then let's go ahead and do something about your credit so that you can get actually a nice car that you can afford. Okay? I'm here for all you guys. Information is free, right? Inbox me. Information is free. Okay? I hope to see you guys at the top, and I wish you nothing but success in your future. Have a great night.